Hey, Russ Miller here with X-Percussion. And I want to talk to you guys about one of the core products of the X-Percussion accessory line, and that is the click. And I have one here on my snare drum, and you can see it mounted just above the throw-off. It is actually a 24-ply piece of maple with 2 plies of copper inside of it. I'll put it over here. Maybe you can see in this camera. I'll move it around a little bit so you can see the copper plies in there. And the purpose of this product is to give you a more consistent and sonically full cross-stick tone. So you'll see the mono mounts here on the click, and they're slotted, so you can mount it on pretty much every drum from an 8 to a 16. You can see the tension rod just goes right over through those and then puts it back onto your snare. I most commonly mount it right over where the throw-off is on the butt side of the snare drum, where you would commonly be putting the stick to play a cross-stick tone anyway. And let me give you an example of the AB of this with a regular cross-stick sound. It basically gives you a fuller tone, and a little bit more projection and volume out of the cross-stick. So here's the regular cross-stick sound, and here is the click. There's quite a bit more bottom end and projection, and the copper adds a mid-high element to it as well. And for me, it creates a really consistent sounding tone that's similar to almost like a sample. The other thing is engineers love the click because it creates a much better balance between your regular backbeat on the snare and your cross-stick tone, which a lot of times is a challenge for the engineer because you're playing the backbeat, which is quite a bit louder. You go to the cross-stick and then they got to chase it on the fader, on the mixer. So let me give you an example of that. It sort of balances that out a little bit from your own mix coming from the drums. So that's another benefit of the click. The other thing that the click does is it gives us the opportunity to have a cross-stick tone on a small diameter drum. Now, a lot of small diameter drums, you can't even get to the sweet spot on the stick because the actual drum diameter is just too small. So that sweet spot on the stick where we get that nice cross-stick tone is about 3/4 of the way down on the butt side of the stick. And if you have a drum like, for instance, I set up a 12 here on the drum set, over here under the hi-hat, and I'm putting this click back on here to demonstrate you cannot even play a cross-stick tone on a 12-inch snare drum without the click. This makes it possible to do that. Now, as I mentioned with the mono mounts, you can actually do this on everything from an 8-inch snare drum to a 10, to a 12, and of course a 13. And I use it a lot on the 14 as well because I just love the tone of it. Well, let me demonstrate here on this 12. This is what the 12-inch drum sounds like without the click at all, trying to just make a cross-stick tone on a 12 or a small diameter drum. I mean, it's literally not even functional. So here, let me demonstrate it back and forth. So it gives me that opportunity to create that tone on a small diameter drum. And, it's a whole new voice that I never had before on an instrument like that. Okay, so the click from X-Percussion, 24 plies of maple, 2 plies of copper with the proprietary mono mount. Mounts pretty much on every drum, 8 to 16 with most lug configurations. Really, really important to have for small diameter drums, and I just highly recommend you checking out the click from X-Percussion.